Have you guys missed me? I'm sure you guys all know I miss talking to you. So this is what we're going to talk about in this video. Let me get this out of the way so you guys can kind of see me better. So this is what I'm going to be talking about in this video. The format is new. The format is new and improved, and like we are ready, we are rocking, and it's great. So loving this new format. It's actually kind of bringing me back into the game. A lot of players are saying that it's a good time for people to get into the game because the format has gotten so much healthier with the release, and I think that's because of a couple of things. Tapu Lele, Field Blower I think was a big one because we had nothing to check tools for almost an entire format. Like, this is the last set before this format is kind of more so over. Well, I guess we have Worlds format, but you know, a lot of players get to play in that. So Worlds format is just very unique and different, so I'm not going to really get into that or talk about that. But we also have Garbodor, and that's what I want to talk about today. So everybody knows that Decidueye Plume is a very dominant deck in the current format. A lot of people argue that it is the best deck in the format, even though I don't think that there is a beat-if currently. I think that I think it was still very matchup based, but I guess it was the strongest deck. The numbers don't lie, despite people always saying that it wasn't that good, I guess, or you know, people were kind of playing down its numbers. I guess I do need to put this back here. Hold on. That's just not gonna help. When I turn, maybe it'll get better. Alright, there we go. Okay, so a lot of people are saying that Decidueye is the best deck in the format, and a lot of people were upset because they feel like Decidueye is like this really degenerative deck, and they felt as though, you know, turn 1 Plume kind of locks your opponent out of the game and doesn't let your opponent play the game, so it's not a fair card. However, now we have Garbodor, which is interesting because it kind of does the opposite of Plume. Plume doesn't just is degenerative in the fact that it doesn't allow your opponent to play the game, period. So it basically just punishes your opponent for having items in their deck, but it punishes them in a way that, you know, doesn't even let them play. Now, Garbodor is interesting because it punishes the opponent for having items in their deck, but it does it the other way. So it's kind of like, what's worse? Like, being screwed out of the game by being not able to play your items at all, or being screwed out of the game because you have to play your items to win. And that's kind of what Garbodor does. And I think it's a very interesting dynamic. The thing is, with Garbodor, at least I can play. So a lot of people enjoy Garbodor. They feel like it is healthy. They feel like it checks a lot of different decks. But when a card like Garbodor is that strong, like Garbodor stacks up damage so quickly, like, and it can play things such as Bumblebee or Rocket's Handiwork if you want to get really cute, to kind of force your opponents into playing item cards. Like the Garbodor can tech not trainers, but it can tech certain supporters, tech certain Pokemon that can apply pressure that forces them to just play into Garbodor. And Garbodor is very hard to trade with a lot of these GX and EX Pokemon. And it just takes a knockout so easy because, you know, you have to think the average deck has about, what, I want to say about 20 or so item cards. If not 20, no, less than, you know, 15, and that's 300 is it 3? No, 15 times 2? Yeah, that's 300 damage if you have all your items. And so 300 is more than enough. Oh my god, way more than enough. So it's just kind of like Garbodor becomes a big player. You know, VS Seeker, we want to play 4 of them. I think Garbodor, when VS Seeker is gone, Garbodor will be a lot less threatening, I feel. But I think us having to play for VS Seeker and relying on that engine definitely pushes it over the edge. So at that point, it's kind of like, is Garbodor a degenerative card? A lot of people are saying no. A lot of people are saying Garbodor is not degenerate. Degenerate is being able to, force giants and plants into a Vileplume and tell your opponent that now, almost half of their deck is unplayable. Degenerative is not your opponent playing out all of those, half of those cards and then just getting ran over by a Garbodor. And I guess I kind of agree with that. I think that Garbodor is a card that brings a lot of skill into the game. I think Garbodor is a card that checks and it balances lots of different things. And I think that it's going to be good in going forward to deck building around Garbodor, or to make sure your deck doesn't flat out lose to Garbodor. And it's just so easily splashable. It has, it has the Gardevoir Gallade thing going for it, where it has another evolution that does good things. Like the Garbodor Toxin was already a thing, so you can also run the utility of being able to shut off your opponent's items. So I really, really do like Garbodor, and that is my question to you though. Like, what do you think is worse to play against? Do you think it's going to be more upsetting to play against a deck like Garbodor, where it's kind of like, well, I can play and I'm still probably going to lose? Or is it more frustrating to play against something that is kind of like, okay, well, I can't play my items, they can't play items either, so maybe I can, build around this. And, we have Wobbuffet to kind of deal with Vileplume. Garbodor, we don't have Trump card anymore. So, like, what really checks Garbodor? A deck that doesn't play items? What deck are you gonna play that doesn't play items that is going to win a tournament, or doesn't play a heavy count of items? At that point, you're just inconsistent and you're going to lose that way. Unless you build a deck that can beat Garbodor without heavily relying on its items. And again, Garbodor is just the type of deck that can just really pressure you into having to play the items. So I think it's definitely adding an interesting dynamic. I like to think about both of those scenarios. I've seen some games of people playing Garbodor so far, and so far it looks like it's a big threat. I'm just gonna say that much. It's something serious. That Garb. So interesting to say the least. There are some other cool cards that have come out in Guardians Rising. Tapu Lele fortunately has no psychic weakness, so Garbodor has to do a bit more work to knock it out. I think Mewtwo is effectively DOA on the arrival of Garbodor. I mean, who's gonna play a Mewtwo deck with Garbodor's running around? And I think the absence of Mewtwo gives a lot of other decks some potential to play the game a bit more. Decks that play Max Elixirs, decks that play BS Seekers, like Garbodor checks a lot of those things. A lot of those fast decks that we had a problem with, Garbodor does a good job with that. And I think it also might have a fair shot against Decidueye as well, because I think coming into Guardians Rising, Decidueye is still going to be a problem because Tapu Lele honestly makes the deck more consistent, and it makes the deck a lot better in my opinion. And we also have Field Blower, so it does have an answer for Garb Lock. So I think if anything, which usually happens in card games, is that the release of the new set is going to make the best deck, or arguably the best deck, better. So I really do like Guardians Rising, and it's really cute, and I look forward to actually continuing to play this game. I think this set has, ignited my spark enough to kind of power through and deal with the kind of response that I've gotten from the community as a whole lately, and I'm excited to play the game again, so that's great. So you tell me, let me know, like, what do you think is worse? Do you think Garbodor is going to end up being something that people are saying, this card is stupid, it's degenerate, why would you print something that punishes people for playing items? Or do you think that it's still going to be, well, at least it's not Vileplume, which, just slaps people in the face and shoots them for playing items. Unlike Garbodor, which is kind of like, well, I told you not to. Like, Willy Wonka when he's like, I told you not to, silly boy. That's kind of like Garbodor. And Vileplume is more just like, don't fucking try it. Alright, so yeah. Thanks so much. Stay tuned for more content.